Good morning. Labor Day? Wait, not Labor Day. Meh. Memorial Day has passed. It is officially the beginning of summer. There's the camera. Hello. For all us church volunteers, all us Christian stay-at-home moms, you know what time of year it is. It's VBS time. I've done some prop making in early spring, which you're about to see. And I'm about to start our church's props. So let's get to it. So my dear friends over at my previous church, they reached out to me over the winter break and asked if I could help them make some props for their VBS. Now, their VBS is going to be this theme. Now, Emerald Crossing is from the people behind Answers in Genesis. You might know Answers in Genesis from their YouTube channel featuring Ken Ham, who studies and posts videos on basically proving Genesis from a scientific point of view. They're also the people behind the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter, so many of you know about Answers in Genesis through that. But anyways, so their VBS curriculum is called Emerald Crossing, and it is a like Irish shepherd theme. And so my friends over at Legacy, they sent me this image as their inspiration for what they would like me to do. These props, whoever made these props, I found this also on Pinterest, so it's everywhere, this picture. These props, to me, a tad bit unsettling. I know they were based off of the actual concept art from the Answers in Genesis curriculum, VBS curriculum page, and their characters and all that stuff. The eyes and some of these, it's just, and the fur is cool that they tried to put real fur on this so you can touch it. Honestly, that's a little much for me. So I went and I wish I had saved the time-lapse animation of me drawing mine, but I just took real images of the real animals in real life, and then I just redrew them in a cute, cartoony fashion, and basically redid the animals that are in that original image in a way that I thought was cute. I also forgot to record myself transferring these images onto the foam board that I used for the props. Here is a little animation of what I did do. This is me, and I got a piece of foam board, 8x4 foot pink insulation board. You can get it at Home Depot, whatever thickness you want. I usually go with 1/2 inch because it's affordable. Once I got the foam board, I set it up against the wall. So I set up my projector and I connected my iPad to it and pulled up the images that I drew on my iPad, and then went ahead and projected that image onto the foam board. And I was able to scale it exactly how I needed to, allowing me to then trace the image onto the foam board. And voila! Perfect scale proportions. Once everything was traced, I went outside the next day in the daylight, and with, what do you call this? A miter saw? The little reciprocating saw? this little tiny rectangular saw my husband had. This thing cuts through foam board like butter. You just got to get used to like how it cuts and how you have to hold things and the angle you have to do it in. But once you get the hang of that, oh my goodness. And this is how they looked once they were all cut out. And then I was able to move on to making the little feet. So, you know, when you buy like table decorations, those paper table decorations for parties, and you unfold them and they have this little like kind of like paper joint to help them stand up. You unfold them and you connect them together, and it's this little like T-joint that helps them stand up. Well, that concept is basically the same thing that I'm doing for the feet of each of these props. So I just used scrap pieces of foam board that were left over from previous projects. Every project that I do, if I have scraps that are a significant size, I'll keep as much as I can, because you never know when you need a bunch of little things. And I'm so cheap. I hate going and buying brand new sheets of foam board just for tiny little bits like this. All right, and so once those feet were made, you can tell right here in the back, I secured them in place. I basically glued them on with spray foam, and that is easy to cut the excess off, like trim it off with a little blade, and sand down the lumpy stuff so it's nice and smooth. And I also sanded down all the edges, because when you cut foam board, it can be pretty raggedy on the edges, even when you use a nice saw like I used. So once each piece is sanded, I go ahead and block in the color with paint, craft paint or house paint, whatever paint you have on hand. The trick I like to use is, if I need specific colors, I will go to the paint store or Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever, and I will pick all the colors and get sample sizes of them. It costs so much less than buying craft paint in a large bottle, and you get plenty in each of those little sample size containers. Now, when I painted these, the easiest way to get like a nice 3D effect is always start with your darker colors, your shadow colors, and block in those colors first. And then as you add layers on top, go lighter and lighter until you're doing your highlights. That way you don't have to painstakingly go in with like a fine brush and do shadows later on. Those shadows are already there, and then you're just doing your lighter colors a little more inset than the previous color, and then your highlight is a little more inset than that, and it just makes it a lot easier to get your highlights and shadows that way. And for the grass in the background and like the bushes and stuff, I did the base, the shadow color, and then I took a light green spray paint and just spray painted little like circles here and there, little streaks, in spots. The spray paint has that like soft blend to it, so it gives the stuff in the background the appearance of being blurry. Therefore, it recedes into the background, and then your images, if your shadows and highlights are nice and sharp, they will naturally come forward and look more in focus. So just a little trick that I did to help make things look a little more realistic. So I moved inside once it got dark and finished working on the dining room table while my kids were watching movies. And yeah, just a continuation of me adding more and more highlights and details. Let me know if this was informative to you, and please like and subscribe and share this video. Turn on that bell so that when my next video comes up, you will be alerted. All right, guys, love you. God bless. See you later.